And we continue. And we continue because we're not quitters. We are going to make this happen. You and I, we will reach the top because we are persistent and we have passion. Let's make it happen.
Net2Dev.
We must continue with this beautiful Web3 NFT minting and staking application, okay? On the previous video, we cover HTML on a very high level. However, we configured the NFT minter and we also configured the NFT staking vault dashboard. So we got two forms in the Web3 application. We got the NFT minter and we got the NFT staking application dashboard. Now, we need to enable the NFT collection art to be displayed. What we want to see, we want to see every single picture or every single art or every single NFT that has been minted on the smart contract to be shown and displayed on the Web3 app, okay? And with that, if you go back into my previous videos where I discuss how to do API calling and how to show in the NFT staking application, how can we add stake and unstake buttons to each NFT, you are going to be very familiar with this particular section. However, we want to change the cosmetic layout and we want to add more visually appealing objects and visually appealing effects to each card. So what we're going to do now, we are going to enable the API on our brand new React server that we have been building, okay, that we have been configuring with HTML. And we are going to pull the information via an API call using AXIOS to Morales to give us the information that we need so we can display the art along with the IPFS NFT image path, because we need IPFS so then we can pull the image path or URL so then React can render the images on each card. And what we build, that frame where we insert the NFT image, that is called a card. It's another HTML object that we have to configure. If you want to know on a very low level how to configure the NFT collection cards and how to display them, I am going to give you the link below so that you can see that on a very detailed level because we configured that from scratch, okay? So in this section, however, we are adding the NFT cards. We are enabling API. So we are adding API functionality so that we can pull the information from Morales so then we can display all the NFTs that have been minted on the smart contract, okay? Once we complete this particular item, we are ready to work on the NFT staking JavaScript functions that are going to call the smart contract and give us the functionality that I shown in video number 1. So we need to make sure that we understand how the JavaScript functions were configured before, because in the next video, I am going to update what we previously built, okay? And we are adding more commands and we are adding more code because I will be doing something that is going to make the application even more attractive to our users, because it's gonna be so easy for users to use that they will love using our Web3 application. That's what we want. We want adoption. So we need to make it as simple as possible. You know, anyone should be able to navigate on that website without any problems, and everyone should be able to stake with the push of a button. Nothing too complex, very simple, okay? So what we're going to do now, we want to head back onto our ReactJS server. I am going to add API call. I am going to configure the class that I need so I can build the AXIOS API calls and get that information from Morales. The same thing I am going to do to get the information from Polygon. If you want to know more about how to do this You want to know the whole walkthrough of how to do API calls? I am going to give you the link to the video so that you can familiarize with this particular step. I am just copying and pasting on this particular video, but I am focusing more into the HTML styling because we need that visually appealing aspect of this React app. That's what we want. We want this to look amazing, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and let's jump and let's make this happen. So let's get this thing going, okay? So let me talk to you about this particular scenario. In the last video, I mentioned that once we get the NFT collection displayed below, this should auto align on top, and that is not true. I realized that there is an issue here because even though that, yes, we are building a reactive HTML site, however, this should also have a certain limit, or at least it should auto scale to a certain point. And that point is defined by the CSS value applied to the CSS object that we apply to the form. So we can see the case for the NFT Minter. For the NFT Minter, we know that it has a certain space that we allocated, right? But this is not the case for the staking vault. I want to take this opportunity as a learning experience when we deal with HTML arrangement or HTML formatting, right? So the problem that we're seeing right now is that both forms inside the staking vault, it's being, for some reason, they both are stretched equally. And we don't want that because we want to have this particular section on the left and this particular section on the right. I am going to show you something that works wonders for me when it comes to troubleshooting why my objects in HTML are not aligning the way I am expecting for them to align, okay? So with that said, I am going to explain to you a quick how to identify and pinpoint, or at least isolate, where that issue might be, okay? So let's pay attention to this because this is quite interesting and it helps me a lot. I've been learning HTML as I go, and as every time that I learn how to troubleshoot faster, how to debug an issue faster, I will definitely write it down because I will definitely go back and say, well, how did I fix this the last time? I spent 2 days trying to figure out something. I will make sure that I write up how I was able to figure it out, so the next time I can read back, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this. Let me go back, okay. So it helps you a lot to have some sort of cheat sheet. That's what I call it, cheat sheet. It's a way to go back. I'm like, oh yeah, this is how I did it, right? So let me show you how will I approach into trying to figure out why both forms, which are independent, are stretching equally, right? And not only that, why this is expanding all the way to the end, which it's literally bordering my taskbar, and I'm expecting this to be different. I'm expecting this to be one side, the vault, and then the next side or the right side will be the staking rewards dashboard. So we got two forms. We got one on the left and one on the right, okay? So let me explain to you how that looks, okay? Or how should we approach this issue and identify what the issue might be, okay? So what I'm going to do, I am going to go back onto the end goal, right? The end goal page. And I got this screenshot of the end goal. So the end goal is to get this in this particular format, okay? So how do we start identifying what the issue might be? Okay, so we want to make sure that we fix this. Okay, so let's go back. So we know, and by the way, we're not going to care about this right now. I am going to focus myself on fixing this, okay? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to build the entire thing in HTML. So I know how everything should be inherited, because the issue here is inheritance. There is something nested inside a particular section that should not be nested that way. And this is why we're seeing the stretching, okay? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to build this very, very high level draft of how the application should look like. So we open the app, obviously, then we open a container. And again, I'm not gonna care about the NFT mentor because we know that's good. So we open a container, right? So that's the next step. Inside the container, we will have a row because this whole thing right here, it's a row. This whole space right here is a row. So we open a row, right? Inside the container, we got a row. And then all the objects inside this row will be this is basically all this right here. This is a row. And then this below is another row, okay? And apologies for my pulse. So this is a row, separate row, and this is another row, right? So this entire space right here, so you see this whole thing right there, it's a row, okay? So with that said, let me continue here. So I got a row, right? Inside the row, let's add two spaces, we will have a column. What are we going to get into that column, or what are we going to nest into that column will be basically this form. Okay, so we will have a form number 1, right? So inside that column, we will have form 1, or in this case, let's label it vault activity. So you are aware what it's going to be inside that row, or inside that column, sorry. The next column that I'm going to have will be column for the image, because we're going to have an image. Okay, so we will have that image. And again, this is me just giving you the tree of how everything is inherited. That doesn't mean that you open a column that way, okay? Okay, so we got the row. Inside the row, we got a column. Inside the column, we got that form, which is the vault activity. Then we obviously will close that column, then open another one, and then insert the image. Then we then have a third column, right? And in that third column, we will have the staking reward, okay? And finally, we will, you know that you close the row and such. So, this closes right here. And you have to do the same thing with the columns. But I just want to give you this high level, quick how-to, okay? And this is not, by the way, this is not how you initialize a container. It's literally a div, and then you put a class name and you set up the name, okay? I just want to make this very quick demonstration, okay? Right, so basically in a high level, and by the way, I'm forgetting this one below, but if we want to add the second one below, then you open another row, right? So we open another row, and then we again add another column. Inside that column, we will add a table. Okay, we then have another column, right? And inside that column, we have another table, because we got two different tables. We got one for the staking pool, and then we got another one for the token stake farms. So we got two columns. Inside each one, we will have a table, okay? And once we're done with that, obviously we close that row, because we open that row right here, right? We open the first row, we close the first row. And the same has to be done with the call. Open the call, you have to close the call right here, okay? So let me move this so I am in the way of the display. So let me put it in a way that you can see it completely. Okay, so we got the app, we got the container, we got the row, we got the column, right? We inserted the vault activity inside that column, we closed that, and then we open another one, we added the image, we closed that, then we added, open another one, then we added the stake reward form, we close the row, and basically this right here that I have highlighted is this whole section right here, okay? So this whole thing. Then we open another one, this is the new one right here, and then we add a column, we add a table, then we add another column, we add the other table, and we close the row. And this will be the second one. And finally, we close the entire container, the whole thing close, and then we close the app. That's if you only want to have a web page displaying this. This will be like a very high level HTML3, and then all the branches and all the leaves and all that, okay? Cool. So with that said, let's go back onto the app, okay? So we're gonna fix that. So I have a cool way of figuring out where the issue might be. You might have an issue with, the attributes, because you might be expanding. You have a CSS object that it's displaying a grid, but then the grid justify a stretch, but it's applied to both. So you might have that as an issue. But in order for me to isolate, we start from the basics, okay? Then we move our way up. If we are unable to find that there is an issue as far as inheritance in HTML, like there's a column not closed, and then you start at another column or something like that, then this is how you figure it out, okay? So I have a cool trick. I'm gonna show you this trick right now. So what I can do, actually, I can go into app CSS, okay? And I can build another CSS object that paints a background black, okay? So check this out. This is kind of cool, and trust me, you're gonna use this. So let's build this object and call it error search, okay? And we are going to use this to search where the syntax is, or the issue with the syntax is. In my case, what I'm going to do, I am going to type background, and we are going to paint black, okay? And let me explain what I'm going to do with this. This is basically for me to apply this to the row and see what paints. And if we see that the row, it's painted completely all the way to the tables, then we know we're not dividing into two rows. You see where I'm going? If I apply it to the first row and everything else gets painted, then that means that I am not dividing the container into two different rows. One for my staking vault and staking rewards, or my vault activity and staking rewards, and then the other one for my tables. That's what it should be. If I apply this to the row and everything gets painted, then it means that everything is inside a single row, and that's not good, okay? If I don't see that, then I know at least the row division is correct. You see where I'm going, okay? Awesome. So let me go ahead and save this, right? Let's go back to app and let's find that first section, right? So what I'm gonna do, where are you? Okay, so this is the first row. So we can see it right here because this is where vault activity, it's been called or it's been created. So I know this is the first column for the first section, right? So if we go back, right, this is the first column. So we started the row and then we added the first column. So what I'm going to do, I am going to import error search, which is the CSS object that I created to see what gets painted. Okay, so I'm going to type error search in the row class name. I'm going to save it and we're going to decide to see what painted black. Check this out. You see what's happening? Like I told you, everything is being painted black, which means that that is not what we want. We need to fix this because this should be on a completely different row and it's not. So now we at least know where we should start debugging. Okay, let's go back. Okay, you got this. When I first learned about this, I'm like, I need to find a way to not go myself crazy. I know that I can just grab the div and then just find the whole, the whole path, right? And where it's closing. And I already can see that this is closing incorrectly, right? But also this is a good troubleshooting approach when you have a lot of stuff nested, right? And it's very hard to just keep track of lines, right? I know that, Visual Studio Code will do a great job at making sure that it tells you where the line starts and ends, or at least the object opens and closes, but it's also good to have another way of troubleshooting because you might see, well, it's closing correctly, but I still cannot figure it out. Let me then start applying colors and just paint the whole thing and see what paints and what not. And then I will know, well, this should not be applying to this. Why is it applying? And then you can keep going, right? So let's continue. So now we know this row, it's painting the entire container, or at least this object is painting the entire container. And I already see that the opening div, the row, we could go back down to the end, it's closing and it's also taking over the tables. This is the information for my tables, right? For the NFT staking reward tables and information. So now I know that. Now what I need to see, it's where the second form finishes, or at least where the second form, the staking reward, which is my last column, ends. And then that is where I am going to apply the closing row, okay, or the statement to close that row. So then I am not getting this impactor, or at least applied to, okay. So let's go back and let's see where that staking vault finishes. Where are you? I think it's here. And earn tokens. Yeah, staking rewards. So this is the one that we want to look for. And the form is closing here, which is correct. Then this div, and then this is where the new row starts. Okay, so that tells me that I have to close the row right here. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to place that div, because I am going to remove the one on the bottom, but we are going to miss the div. Then it's better just to put the div here than delete the one that is extra, okay? So I just place it here, and check this out. I am going to go down, and now I will remove this one, which is not needed. That's the one that was closing the row on top. Okay, so I'm going to close this. I should not get any errors. Now let's go back to the one that I just created and see where that is closing. Okay, so we got this div, and let's see where it goes. So we got this div right here, and then it closes right here. So you can see it right here, right? So let me take this out. Let me do it again. So I'm going to show you. So I'm going to select this div, highlight this div right here. And sure enough, you can see that it's literally this guy right here. Let me go ahead and Control S, and I still have the error search, right? Apply. So the background will still be applied, but that's good. Now I know if it's going to paint the tables or not, and if we at least resolve that issue. So let's go back. What do you see now? This is no longer painted, which means that we effectively separated the rows into two rows. We're getting there, but we still have an issue. Why this has been spread and not formatted in the way that I want to format. So now, knowing that I took care of the row, I am going to remove that error search object from the row, and we are going to apply that object to the column, to each column, to see what will happen. Okay, so let's go back. Okay, we are going to remove error search from here, right? Then we are going to apply it to the first one, error search, okay? And then we're going to save it. Okay, we removed that from row. Now we are applying it to the first column, which should be the first form, okay? Let's go back, let's see it. Oh, it's still applying to both. No, this column is separate from this column and this column. But no, that's not the case. Now let's see where that column is being closed. I bet it's closed all the way to the bottom. And that's a problem. Let's go back. Let me take error search out of, no, actually I'm going to leave it there. But then we are going to find where that closing div is. So you can see we already passed the form. We're in a bad spot. We know we're in a bad spot. And we opened the new column for the second form, and that's not good, okay? And by the way, you got the art image. So we got the image, you know, we closed the form. That's the first form, or the first vault activity. And we got this image right here, the call. It's being classified as a column. And then we got the image right here, but then we are opening a new one, right? And this does not have a div. So I'm just literally calling image. And I believe this is not the best way to do it. I think we should still have a div, but I just did it that way. We should have a div even though, okay? So now I'm opening a new call, but guess what? I never closed the previous one, and that's a problem. So knowing that this is where the form ends, let's see where that one, first of all, let's see where it's closing. So let's go back down. It's closing all the way at the bottom. So I'm actually closing this call along with the other one at the end, and that's not good. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to close the first one, you know, I'm going to close that first div. But then we are going to be, we have to delete the one that is extra, because that will trigger an error. And there you go. It's already underlining the one that is extra. We're going to delete this. Okay. We're going to Control S. Go back and see how that looks. saw? There you go. And we still see the background, but guess what? It's now being applied to the right section. I am not painting this black because it's no longer being applied to this, nor I am painting this black because it's no longer being inherited from column number 1. So now we have a proper alignment of the objects in the staking vault. Food for thought. There you go, you got the trick. All right, awesome. So we got that. Okay, we're good. Now let's continue. We just took care of this syntax issue. Now let's continue working. I am going to obviously take this out because we no longer need that error search. And we'll go back and make sure that nothing has been painted. So let's take this guy out of the picture. Control S. And I'm going back onto the site and boom. Beautiful. Beautiful. Awesome. Okay. Now, next step. Now what we need to do, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take out the background because I know it's a gradient. It looks great and it's changing color, but I just want to put it static. I don't want to like change this to be dynamic. So I'm going to change this to the one that I already had in the original design. So we are just going to put it static. Okay. So with that, I already got the object. And by the way, where do we apply the background? Do you remember? Where do we apply the background based on the previous video? If not, let's have a quick refresh. Remember, it's the application. So the entire background is on the app. So guess what? We got a CSS object called NFT app applied to the app, which is applying everywhere. Okay. So let's go to the app. Let's go to the NFT app. And let's see where that is. Scroll up, up, up. There we go. Here we go. NFT app. And then we got that animated gradient background. We're going to remove everything here. And we're just going to apply that linear or like static background that it's not going to change colors. And then we're going to Control S. Let's go back and see how that looks. Woohoo! Awesome. So now we are effectively with a static background. Okay. Awesome. Now what I'm going to do, I am going to add a little bit of shadow on the upper side, but you know what? Let's continue. I'll take care of that in a bit. I am going to work with what we need to import from the previous config. And by the way, what we are going to do now, we are going to enable AXIOS API calls, but we are also bringing the configuration that we did on previous videos. I am going to leave on this video a link that is to show you how to configure the AXIOS and API calls using ReactJS from scratch. Okay, now I'm just copying and pasting, but if you want to know how to do AXIOS API calling with ReactJS, I have a video on the description, a link to the video, and it has all the configs, it has everything, it has the whole how to do guide. Okay, be sure to watch that if you're unfamiliar with this. Okay. So let's go back to React, to my app.js, okay? And the first thing I got to do, actually, I have to remote into my server because I have to install the AXIOS dependency. So let's do that right away. And again, I already did this on previous videos. So now let me go ahead and install the AXIOS dependency in React. So then we can start making those API calls, okay? So let me go ahead and stop. First of all, I'm going to stop the server. Okay, and then I'm going to do npmi axios. Okay. Once we're done with that, we will restart the server and we'll import the Axios config. Okay. So npm run start. Okay, let's wait for that server to become online. Once we're done with this, we are good to go. Okay, and it looks like it's up. Awesome. So let me go back. Amazing. Cool deal. Okay, awesome. Now, what we need to do, we are going to import the Axios config. And again, I'm going to provide the video if you want to go into how to set up Axios or any API-based call into React, okay? So I don't need the logo, so I can effectively remove this. This is the default ReactJS logo. I don't need that. We got to make sure that that configuration looks clean, okay? So I took that out. And now what I'm going to do, I need to get the AXIOS config, which I already have preset, right? So the first thing that I got to do, I will be importing AXIOS. So what I'm going to do, import AXIOS from AXIOS. Okay, cool. And then we'll have AXIOS imported. Awesome, great. Next thing that I'm going to do, I am going to change the function app to be a class, because we are going to nest a lot of functions. And this is where if we set it up this way, or if we leave it default, that means that we're only running a single function in React. And this is not the case. For Web3, we are going to add quite a few functions in JavaScript. Trust me. And that video is the following video. You got to be ready for that one. That one is going to be intense. Okay, cool. So let me go ahead and remove the function, and I'm going to place instead the class. Okay, I'm gonna go briefly, and again, I'm not gonna go too deep into the details, but this is just for this demonstration. The video with the full details will be provided in the link below. Okay, so let me show you how this looks. Awesome. So basically what I'm doing, I am grabbing all the information that I need to perform my API calls. Okay, so I need the NFT contract, because there is a section in the API that I need to invoke the NFT contract. So then it pulls the information for that particular NFT contract that we have deployed, right? The same goes for the staking contract, I believe. No, it's only the NFT contract that we're doing API calls. Okay, so we got that. Now those are all dependencies that we have for JavaScript for our next video. Not a problem, we'll discuss that on the next video. And again, I went through all that in my build your first Web3 video. So if you want to take a look and see how this is done on a more detailed level, go watch those videos. Okay, cool. So we got that, and we got the class app. Now we no longer have a single function. We now have a class which we can create a set state constructor and perform promises, or at least get output from promises and arrays or as clear text, so that we can display that information on our HTML code, or at least our website. Okay, so with that said, I have a couple of classes, right? And again, I have a video. You want to learn more about it, go watch it out. Okay, so we got the AXIOS set up, right? Now we are experiencing syntax issues, and I know why. It's because probably now we need more closing brackets and parentheses, and that's why we're seeing it behave this way. But don't worry. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to import the NFT collection HTML code that will generate each card. So we are displaying the NFTs using a card object. Okay, and you have seen this on the previous videos. I basically created a card object that will basically call a map. A map will be calling every single token ID from the NFT smart contract being provided by the API call, and it's going to generate that card. It's going to insert the IPFS picture to be displayed on the card. It's going to give us the wallet that is holding that NFT, and it's going to give us the particular token ID. Okay, with that information, I can then generate my buttons for the stake and unstake, because now I can get the ID, the token ID associated to the stake function. So then I can press that stake function and it will be applied to that particular token ID. Okay, cool. So with that said, enough with the talking. I talk too much, but it's me. Nah, just kidding. All right, so let me go back, and what I'm gonna do, I am going to bring the last container, and the container will be to display the NFTs. Okay, let me go and do this. I want to copy. Then I got to go on to, let's see, we got div. So we got two closing divs, and then we got this one. This one can be removed, and instead we are going to place the map. And again, I already configured this on previous videos. Okay, So I'm gonna go ahead and delete this div, which is going to be replaced with the last div. This is the div that closes the app, okay? But now I am adding more stuff, so I can effectively remove this from this config. Boom. And now I don't need those two. You can see that they're being highlighted, and now I should not get any errors. That looks great, but I have to select the entire stuff that I just pasted. And let me see if I don't, okay, yeah. I'm going to select everything here, right? And then we're going to right click and we're gonna format it so then it aligns the way we want it to, okay? That's awesome. Okay, it looks good. I imported everything that I need, right? And yeah, let's see if we're looking, we can render those NFT images. Control S and fingers crossed. Resave, and sure enough, beautiful. We know API is working as expected, and IPFS is pulling the image files the way we want it to, okay? Some of the IPFS images are not being rendered, and I know why. It's because I haven't run the IPFS client. Okay, I'm just gonna open my local IPFS node, and I am connected, and awesome. Okay, so I'm just gonna leave it there. You're gonna see in a bit that they're gonna start generating or rendering, so that's awesome. If I refresh, I wonder if it's going to start pulling the info. No, but you'll see this populating later. Okay, cool. So now we got everything looking very good. Now let's do, as a final touch to this demonstration, let's do some styling to the card. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I am going to change this to a gradient that looks like the one that I applied here. And by the way, I don't have it. Yeah. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to apply a gradient that it looks way better, and we're going to do this with a CSS object. Okay, so let's go back to React. Okay, let's go to app CSS. Okay, and I am going to import. By the way, let's go back. I want to show you something. I want to show you the app, and then, okay, so I do have a CSS object inside the card, and this is what it's going to give the visually appeal to the object, and it's going to give you the nice graphical details along with the background and such. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to import this because I already have it configured. So we're going to go to app CSS, and then I am going to go all the way to the end. And we are going to copy the entire thing, okay? Then I'm going to go ahead and paste it right here. I'm going to go briefly into it. Basically, I'm going to apply a gradient background to the card. So this is separate from the website background. This is literally a card background. I am going to use this particular font family, and we are setting the color to be white, and then we are calling the box shadow. This is to display a back shadow, which looks amazing. Okay, you're gonna see that in a bit. Okay, that looks good. Let me Control S. Let me go back onto the website and see how that looks. You saw it. Yeah, a little bit of touch. You know, to define what's quality versus quantity, it's the details. When you pay attention to details, when you express details in a project, that means that you're putting extra effort to make it look good and to make this stand out. If it doesn't have the character, if it doesn't have the quality, you know, it's not displaying quality, I personally don't trust it. Need to see that there's dedication onto something before I can even trust it, right? So that definitely will give me a lot of idea of who's behind it. Okay. That's also not a financial advice by any means, because I can be extremely good in making it visually appealing, but I can still not, I can be doing some sort of scam, okay? But at least, you know, it gives me a little bit more confidence. So you have to definitely do this. And that looks amazing, like awesome. And now we got like a black shade on the back that makes the cards look like they're floating, which is awesome. Like, it looks super cool. And by the way, this hasn't rendered. Let me refresh and see now if IPFS was able to pull that data. And it looks like it's not, but that's not a biggie. It will in a bit. That's fine. Okay, cool. So to explain to you, now we got a gradient, blue gradient color. Then we got the information being captured from the API call. We got the NFT ID and we got the IPFS image, which is amazing, okay? Now it looks, look at this. Look how this looks. By the way, we need to fix this. We got to add that shading. Remember at the beginning of the video? Let me go ahead and add that. I'm gonna show you. So the first thing I gotta do, I gotta find the CSS value or a CSS object that is being applied to the navbar, so then we can just add the property onto the box, onto the, the box shadow property onto the CSS value, okay? So as our last step, and we are done on this video, we are going to head all the way to the top, okay? And look at the navbar. And we got a we got a like a default navbar object, navbar dark. But guess what? I don't see it. Let's build a new one. Let's build a new one. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, because I love copy and pasting, I'm going to find what the shadow is. If you see this, which is kind of cool, there is this bluish shadow behind the connect your wallet button. We are going to add that as like a line here that lights up the navbar, okay? So let me find this. I'm gonna find this and I'm just gonna copy and paste it or create a new CSS value, okay? This is so cool. So I'm gonna go back and I'm going to find the app.js and we are going to build a new one. But first I'm gonna look for that connect button. Here we go, connect button, and this is the box shadow. So let's copy this entire line. Okay. Beautiful. Okay, cool, awesome. I love to sing, but I don't do it publicly because, no, it's not my thing. I'm gonna stick to developing. Unless if there's a water drought somewhere, let me know. I can sing a couple of songs and trust me, you're gonna have the biggest thunderstorm ever. Just kidding. Okay, so let's call this navbar shadow. Ooh, no, navbar glow. Sounds better. Okay, and we're going to paste the box shadow inside here. Now we can use that object in the navbar itself. Control S. Let's go back to app.js. Let's go to the navbar. And we are going to apply navbar glow. Navbar glow here. We're going to control S. Look at that. Look at that. Now we see that glow and it's not that big. Let's fix that. Let me go onto the CSS object. And right now it has a width or like a spread of 10 pixels. But now let's raise this a little bit more to see how that looks. Let's put this in 5. Let's go back. Way better. Look at that. You know what? Let's bring it a little bit more up. Let's put it 8. So I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna put this 8. Control S, go back. There you go. Picasso. Awesome. Awesome. You saw it? Now this looks decent. You see, now this looks amazing. But we just have the front end. Now we have to connect everything. We have to add the JavaScript functions. So we have a lot to do now, okay? And this is gonna be a very fun, exciting video in which we're going hardcore mode in JavaScript, okay? So get ready. This will be the next video. You saw it. We got everything we need from a graphical interface. We have completed every single step that we need. Now we're ready to do smart contract functions in JavaScript. So then we can call the functions that we need for any staking functionality as well as any minting functionality. But I am going to be modifying the existing code to add even more amazing things in our function. Rather than the user having to place the NFT ID, all the NFT IDs that the user has minted will be displayed, and then the user can go ahead, verify the earnings for all the NFTs, and claim if they want to without having to input any NFT ID. Literally, it's just click of a button. Okay? Alrighty, that's it for this video. I hope you liked this video. If you do, you know what to do. Oh, you already know what to do. I'm like, hello, why am I even saying that? Like, hello, just like, subscribe. Duh. Subscribe, like. Thank you so much for your support, and we'll see you on the next video. Let's continue this thing because it's addictive. Like I'm telling you, this thing is addictive.